Good morning and welcome to Health Talk, sponsored by Mon General Hospital. This program is designed to provide education on vital health topics to help you take charge of your health. You'll also be introduced to Mon General's committed physicians, allied healthcare professionals, and quality programs and services. And now, here are your Health Talk hosts, Kay Murray and Jim Stallings.
Good morning and welcome to Health Talk on WHAR, brought to you by Mon General Hospital. I'm Jim Stallings along with Kay Murray. Good morning, Kay.
Good morning, Jim.
And today we're talking with Melanie Casey, Dr. Casey, pediatrician with Cardinal Pediatrics. It seems you were just here 2 weeks ago.
I think I was.
All right. Welcome to the program.
Well, I'm glad that you all could have me today.
Yeah, you're actually you should become a permanent co-host of this program. I think you're so good at it.
I would love to.
You know why?
This is
because
fun
she's
for me.
relaxed. She's relaxed and she enjoys doing it. And yeah, it's great to have you
I
back.
think it's important to talk about kids' health issues. Let's get them out there.
Well, let's talk about some kids' health issues. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I thought we would talk about teenagers and adolescents and some of the things that they're facing today.
And that's a great subject because just this morning I saw where a father shot his daughter's computer. I mean, that's what it's coming down to, with the computer, the technology age. And I know tweeting and I know Facebook is a marvelous technology, but I think it is going to eventually get our teenagers in some trouble.
And I think what she thought was, I can write some things on Facebook. My dad's not going to see it.
Never
My parents
see
aren't
it.
going to see it. Meanwhile, she talked about these chores that she has to do, like she was an indentured servant or something. And boy, that got her dad mad. And he sat down in a chair in the middle of the field and read her Facebook post point by point.
Using four-letter words.
Yeah, I mean,
she did.
Yeah, and so then at the very end, he takes his gun and shoots the laptop while it's on the ground, puts about 8 holes in it.
I'm feeling his pain. I tried to watch a movie with Chloe the other day, and her phone made 17 different sounds while we were watching the movie. And I'm like, what is this? She's like, well, that's my text. That's my tweet. Well, that's my Facebook. And at every different time, I said, you know what? Unless you turn it off, I'm going to flush it. And it's an expensive phone to flush, but I would have done it.
Do you think this is inhibiting children growing up actually engaging with people in real life?
Oh, yeah. You know, I even talked with one of the middle school principals recently about this, and what she's noticing, what I notice, is the kids are losing their communication skills. They're losing, and when you text somebody, you know, hey, what's up? You could be saying, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? But you lose that innuendo, and the kids aren't getting it. I mean, I was driving home the other day, and it was so quiet in the car, and I looked back, and Chloe and her best friend Gwen, they're texting each other, sitting beside each other, texting each other. I mean, they're losing. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, they're losing communication skills. They're losing the ability to talk to each other, to reason out things. And then Facebook, social media is a good thing in many, many ways. But parents, we've got to watch what these kids are putting up. They drop the F-bomb like crazy on Facebook. And they forget that, you know, they're friends with their grandma and that maybe she could be reading it. And now the schools, during school, they're not allowed to Facebook and stuff like that. But at home, now the schools are responsible for what they're putting on their Facebook at home. Where as parents, we need to be responsible. We need to look at the privacy settings. Of course, that's hard to do when you're kind of over the hill like I am and you don't really understand the privacy settings. So now we have to go in and understand the privacy settings, and then they block us. And, we can't. We've got to be aware of what they're texting to each other, because that sort of bullying sometimes, it can even end up in bullying.
You know, I got in trouble on this show by some parents because I said I feel students should not be allowed to bring their phones in the classroom. I think cell phones should be left in the locker, in the book bag, and not be brought. And some parents really came down on me for that, saying, well, we need to get a hold of them, and they need to know, they need to be in touch with me. I just think there's a period of time where they can go in a classroom and not have a doggone cell phone in their hand.
Well, I feel comfortable. I know at Mountaineer Middle, they are asked to leave their cell phones in their locker, and I agree with that. I feel comfortable knowing that if one of my girls are sick, I could call the school or they could call me and we could get in touch with each other. I don't think they need to have them in the classroom.
As a parent, you know there's going to be a point probably when they're still in the single-digit ages that they want to ask for a cell phone. As a parent, can you say no? For how long?
Yeah, I'm not against cell phones. I think kids should definitely have them. I think I'm much more likely to send my kids even in the grocery store when we separate, you go your way, I'll go mine. If they need something, if they're in trouble, I think it's a great information. Cell phones aren't so much the issue. It's the having them in the classroom, having them taking away from classroom time, texting your best friend while you should be listening to your science teacher, et cetera. That's the rough part. I like when they have them and they're using them appropriately.
What about outside of home? I mean, do we need to sit down? I shouldn't say outside of home. I meant at home, outside of school, after school. If they're texting the person who's sitting next to them in the back seat, if they're losing those social skills, if the negative aspects of having a device surgically implanted in your hand is all they're about. I mean, that's disconcerting to me.
It's concerning to me, too. We always have a little bit of a downtime. Like I said, when I was ready to flush Chloe's phone during our family movie night, we just have a little downtime. I'll say, okay, everything off, and we sitting at the dinner table is important. You sit around your dinner table and you talk, all media off, and this is what we're going to do. And it's busy. It's a busy time for kids because after school, they don't get much of a break. They get to do their homework, and then they're off to their activities, which is a good thing. But taking that time, if it's not every day, at least a couple times a week, at least once or twice a week, to just sit and be as a family, and doing things on the weekends that don't require the social media. Go camp, go out, take walks.
As a grandfather, which I don't...
You don't look like a grandfather.
Thank you.
Really, you look so young.
It's tough for me to admit it. It's through marriage, though. But my
helps.
mom's on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, and we got the grandkids, and we have their posts, and invariably they make us mad.
Yes.
And we want to... I don't want to read this from them, so I've considered, I'll just defriend them. I don't need to know all this stuff. But you think...
I think it's unfriend.
Yeah, unfriend them. And then you think, well, you don't want to come across as the mean old granddad that, he unfriended us. And
That's
there's
true.
a fine line there. And
just reminding kids and parents, that's where it's our responsibility. Remind them, hey, remember what? When you're on Facebook, the whole world is seeing you. I think there's a sense of anonymity that they feel that they can express themselves through social media and not be held responsible and not have people also see that. And it's our responsibility as parents, grandparents, aunts to call them on it. Hey, I saw that nasty thing you wrote the other day, and that really hurt my feelings, right? That made me feel embarrassed that you would write something like that.
Should you know everybody that she or he is contacting online? Because, we hear the horror stories that, so-and-so came across state lines. They met online, and she was only 14.
Well, the answer would obviously be yes, but it's hard to do that. Kids are very savvy, much more savvy with their devices than sometimes parents are. And, they think, and again, even the younger kids, maybe not so much the teenagers, but the middle school kids, the 5th graders, 6th graders, 7th graders, those kids can think, they really believe they're talking to another 13 or 10-year-old down the street, and they're talking to a 45-year-old sexual predator. And we've seen cases like that. We see it every day on headline news. We read about it, and we have to be aware of what they're doing. We can check their texts. We can check their computers. It's just a matter of looking and having that set up immediately. Here, I'm going to give you this cell phone, and you can text, but this is how this is going to work. Anytime I want to take a look at it, I'm going to take a look at it.
Always being proactive as a parent, hands-on is the way to go, but is there a point where you're invading their privacy?
Oh, I don't know. It's so hard. I believe me, my kids tell me every day I'm invading their privacy. So I think if you have a good, nice kid that's really not that putting that stuff up on Facebook and putting that stuff on their text, the more respectful they are with their media, I think the more respectful you can be of their privacy.
Our number is 304-296-0041. And we'll go on to other things other than handheld devices or electronic devices in a few moments. But let's talk about bullying online, which is a common problem.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be, a kid could come home on a Friday afternoon and the other kids in school that were going to beat him up or that had been harassing him a little bit, this kid could get a little reprieve Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not have to deal with this again till Monday. But anymore, they're harassing them. They're texting, they're putting stuff on Facebook, they're tweeting about this kid. Kids don't have a reprieve like they used to. When kids are getting bullied, it seems like it's a lot worse. The bus is another one. Kids get bullied on the bus, and as parents, sometimes they just don't want to come home and tell us. And, I've come home and how was your day? And you really need to mean that question. How was your day? Tell me about your day. And, a lot of times my girls will say, well, somebody was rude to me on the bus today, or so-and-so said I was fat on the bus today, or said I was ugly and looked like a frog. And, these are bullying, and no child should have to deal with that every day. We go straight to our principals, straight to our school counselors.
And again, you're listening to Health Talk on WAJR. We're going to be back in just a moment. Anything you'd like to add to the conversation, pick up the phone and give us a call. We will be back right after this.
This is Mon General's Health Talk. If you have a health-related question, call us now at 304-296-0041.
Welcome back to the program, Health Talk on WAJR. Dr. Melanie Casey, pediatrician with Cardinal Pediatrics, our guest this morning on the Health Talk show. 304-296-0041 is the number to call for you to be a part of the conversation or ask any questions. We have LaVon calling in from Morgantown. Good morning, LaVon.
Good morning. I would just like to make a comment. We have a grandson in college, and we've recently found out that things that you put on Facebook can follow you to a prospective employer, and we've warned him that anything he puts on there could be picked up when he goes looking for a job. An employer can follow that through and find out what kind of a person or personality or ups and downs or whatever it might be, but they can get those Facebook called back, and it could make a big difference in
Good point,
a young
LaVon.
person being employed.
Yeah, and as someone who occasionally hires people, I usually become friends with these people, and you do check it out even as an employer. I mean, it's an easy way to check to see what somebody's like.
It's true.
That's a whole different subject, but
Yep.
as she brings it up, and we know people that's
Yes.
happened to. So, interesting concept. I want to go back to you talking recently to a teacher and what they're experiencing with young people and technology and cell phones today.
Yes, I mean, her point was, again, what we talked about with kids really losing that ability to communicate with each other and with adults, and relying more on their technological media than they are a face-to-face interaction or a phone call.
What about just saying, no, you can't be on Facebook?
Some
I
parents...
mean, you have teenagers.
Yes.
Could you say that?
I could. I just prefer to monitor them because I think there are so many positives with social media sites as well. But I monitor them. And I know many patients of mine, parents that have said, no Facebook. We don't do that. We're not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And, it's just like...
You do follow them, and parents that are aware of what their children will do, but I think also it can lead to a babysitting situation in the home.
Right. Now, it's amazing how the American Academy of Pediatrics will come out and they'll make a statement of, hey, your kids should not be watching television. These kids need to... kids under 2 should not watch any television, kids above 2. And, with the epidemic of childhood obesity and the unhealthy lifestyles that we're seeing in our kids, to sit in front of a TV, to sit in front of social media, to sit in front of video games, it's not adding to the health and well-being of our adolescents in excess.
Couldn't agree more.
It is looking more and more like Whitney Houston mixed some prescription drugs with alcohol and went into a hot tub type bathtub and fell asleep, and somehow that led to her death. But I'm sure the discussion has come up again about young people being curious about drugs and alcohol, and when is the right time to hedge off anything that they might be approached with in school. What I'm worried about is, kids bringing prescription drugs to school and say, here, try this one. Or, I'm sure, hey, there's pot all over middle schools. And
oh, my God, yes.
I don't think we want to admit it, but the access to marijuana in middle school is probably every day.
But we're hearing more and more, Jim, it's not just the illegal drugs, it's prescription drugs they're getting a hold of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And they're getting them from us. I mean, if we had a toothache and the dentist wrote us some hydrocodone, we might take 2 and leave them in our medicine cabinet. And, so-and-so's backache, well, he's got a few of these Percocets. And eventually, if kids want to get prescription drugs, they start with our medicine cabinets, the parents. So we need to make sure that if we're not using, even if we're using an appropriate drug for appropriate pain, that afterwards we're getting rid of that drug if we're not going to use it. But the right time, Jim, to talk about this is, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but it's starting at about 10 years of age. We start talking about, I had a mom in a couple years ago. It was right around Christmas, and we did her child's 10-year well visit. And I said, now, Mom, this is the time that you need to talk about sex with these kids, and you need to talk about drugs and alcohol and bullying. And she just looked at me and she said, Melanie, we just left the mall. My kid just sat on Santa's lap. How can I go home and talk about sex with her? And I said,
point.
well,
Yeah.
that's true, but my kids, on the bus would come home with these questions. Hey, Mom, and my face would just blanch, and I'd think, really? That's what they're talking about? And it's not fair for them to hear it secondhand. Let them hear it from you, people they trust. And you don't have to go into a lot of detail, especially at 10. But let's talk about the way boys and girls relate. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about the potential that somebody could offer you a drug at school, or that you might be somewhere where people are drinking alcohol and they're not 21. And these are really important things to talk about. Also, it lets them know that, hey, you're hip to this stuff. They can talk with you.
Let's go to Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
Hi there. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
My question is for Dr. Casey. Concerns with, say we were to have a shooting like with the Columbine shooting, and you were saying not to take the phones to school, but you want to get in touch with the kids. Do you think that the society, we should have like a safety precaution where we can send out a mass notice text to our students in school, our kids, and let them know that this is what's going on, this is happening right now?
A text from the school to you as a parent?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they have a parent link.
Yeah,
they do have that information system in Montague
Not
County.
just to me, but just to the students in the schools. Send out a mass text where everybody got it. But would that cause?
Let
I
me
think
answer
it would
that.
cause
Yeah.
major panic.
I do too. I think that information should be disseminated from the principal on down.
I agree with you, Jim.
The school resource officer, oftentimes there's police officers in the school, but I think that you don't text each student individually when they're sitting there as a captive audience anyway, with a teacher up front. Teacher can get whatever information the principal wants her to relay to the students.
Without panic.
We survived, and I know we're always going back to the Columbine thing. That was an extreme case. But I guess I should probably let you answer the question or respond, Dr. Casey.
No, I agree. I think I think there's probably a plan in place for any kind of terrorist sort of action, and I know that. He brings up a good point though. Most people wouldn't even think about that, except for that I think about that all the time, because Chloe and Liza, my kids have come home and they've said, hey, Mom, so-and-so said she's going to bring a gun to school tomorrow and shoot everybody. And
then report her right away.
Yeah. And we do, but they say it like it's nothing, like it's not going to happen. And
which surprises me, because they do come down hard on these students in today's society.
Oh, I know. And, every home in West Virginia has a firearm. It's very normal at this point to do that, because of we're in West Virginia, people hunt and fish and that sort of thing, and these kids do have access to firearms, and they certainly could. So I think there probably is a plan in place for that.
We need to take a break. We're not even going to be able to get into the rock and roll part of it. We talked about sex, drugs, but we're not going to be able to get into rock and roll. We have to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
This is Mon General's Health Talk, providing the information you need to take charge of your health. Call us now with your health-related questions at 304-296-0041.
Well, we're about out of time with Dr. Melanie Casey this morning here on the Health Talk program. The part about rock and roll I wanted to get into was, man, that music those kids listen to today. Sound familiar, Kay?
I love that, Jim, coming from your mouth.
Yeah.
I've seen him grow up on the show.
Of course, Kay's parents were concerned about her and Elvis.
Yeah.
The way he swiveled his hips. But now the words, a lot of times they don't even disguise what they're talking about. A lot of times they have new names for the particular.
We need to continue this conversation, though, in the weeks and months to come, because this is not going to go away, this problem.
I think, there's lots to talk about. We need to talk about teenage depression, teenage angst, talking about dating, all kinds of stuff. So,
All right.
I'm so glad that you've had me on here tonight.
It's a date. We'll have you back again soon, Greg. And that's Health Talk for today, brought to you by Mon General Hospital, your family hospital, with a brand new road going right up to it. This has been Health Talk. Stay tuned for Morgantown AM coming up.